Live from Studio A, WTLK, The Thunder.
Finally, the moment I've been waiting for 6 years has happened. Frozen has a proper sequel, and it is in theaters now. And I saw it, and I'm not sure if there's going to be any songs in there that are going to catch fire, like Let It Go, or really there be any like as catchy as the other sort of songs on the first Frozen soundtrack. But the songs were really good. The movie was really good. I dare say the story itself was even better than the first one. And also, I'm here for Kristoff singing a somewhat 80s power ballad. I mean, it wasn't an already pre-existing 80s power ballad, but his original song was sort of in the tune of an 80s power ballad. So yeah, Frozen 2, fantastic. Go see it. Also, got Glow versus the Babyface #1, the little mini-series about Glow that I've been telling you about. That's written by Amy Garcia and AJ Mendez. And yeah, it was really good. Did a nice job setting up the smorgasbord of problems that the Glow women are going to be facing. And the art was really good too. I like how the baby face is drawn, and really how the baby face is written. It reminds me a lot of the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl, which is a very good thing. So yeah, check out Glow versus the Babyface. Issue 2 will be coming out December 18th. Or for some reason, Comixology has it listed for coming out on Christmas Day. So it's coming out one of those 2 weeks. So check it out. Also on Sunday, I got to go to Retro Toy Con, which is a little convention that's like 0.5% the size of Dragon Con. I mean, it makes SC Comic Con look like Dragon Con, which is definitely not an insult. Retro Toy Con is very new and also very niche, so I mean, it'll have time to grow just like Dragon Con did, just like SC Comic Con did. But for what they did offer, it was really neat. There was the one vendor room, and then there was the sort of conference rooms or ballrooms where they have panels in the costume contest. Our great friend Mark McCray, who's also part-time co-host of Thunder Talk, he had a panel Saturday afternoon. So sadly, it was on the day that I could not attend, but I'm sure it went fantastic and beautifully. But me and Mark did get to sit on the costume contest, which Lightning Lad did video for the con to record for Retro Toy Con's usage and all that. And it was pretty interesting. It wasn't like any other costume contest I ever saw, because they also sort of congregated with a panel of judges at the table, and they asked them what they made their materials out of and everything. It was pretty much like costume contest plus a little bit of Project Runway, to borrow Mark's metaphor that he used for it, or comparison. So yeah, I mean, I was only there for a couple hours, but it was good. And also we got to interview a friend of myself and my mother's, Matt Cohen, who's an SRO at Malden Middle, who's also part of the 501st. He's mostly a stormtrooper. He was Darth Vader at this past year's SC Comic Con, and this year he was dressed as Darth Nihilus. And Dan and I also got to interview Rob Young, the owner of Borderlands Comics and Games, and also the creator of SC Comic Con, and someone who I go way back with ways, because one of my dear friends was a longtime customer of Borderlands since we've known each other in high school, and so I'd tag along with him and slowly start knowing Rob that way. And then Rob does deals or has a sort of promotion partnership thing with DashCon, so of course I saw Rob there through. And so yeah, bing bang boom, Borderlands, very strong ally of Thunder Talk, or is Thunder Talk a very strong ally of Borderlands, or both, you decide. So anyway, we're going to get on to the wrestling things now. And I'm formatting this a little differently because trying to cover like everything across multiple promotions every single week is a damn full-time job, and I'm already now working like 40 to 50 hours a week now basically. So I'm just gonna really narrow it down to the stuff I give a shit about, which I wanted to do like top 5 or top 10 things, but then I just kept writing down a whole lot of things because of course this was Survivor Series week, so a lot of important shit happened. But starting off, my only real takeaway from AEW Dynamite this past week was Chris Jericho literally cannot say sorry. You have to see the clip itself, and it is really funny. But Chris Jericho was out there with Jake Hager to address the AEW universe, and he was apologizing for how he was with how he's been and how he was with Scorpio Sky and also losing to Scorpio Sky, and he literally tried to say that he's sorry, but he was like, I'm so he had to put the mic over to Jake Hager, and Jake would say sorry for him, and after like the third time you could see Jake Hager was having a really hard time keeping it together. So yeah, that was really funny. Not a whole lot much else happened there, except for a lot of really good fights, and Kenny Omega actually doing a promo, which he's not really known for doing. It wasn't bad at all. It was really good. But he's just not known for doing it that much. So anyways, with all the whole crazy invasion stuff we got over in the WWE, the Sky Pirates reunited. Io Shirai and Kairi Sane, they're best friends, and they were a formidable tag team up until Kairi Sane got called up to the main roster, or just Raw and SmackDown, because we all know NXT is the main roster, of course. So when they were invading NXT, Raw and SmackDown were during the women's side of things, and this was, I believe, right after Becky actually faced Rhea Ripley, which is a match that people have been waiting for at least the past year. So yeah, the Sky Pirates, Kairi Sane and Io Shirai actually saw each other, and they were shocked, and Io was even a little bit horrified, which I'm not sure why, because I mean they're both heels and they actually both kind of dress alike now. So, but it's just funny because it reminded us that when Kairi Sane was called up and there was rumors of a new tag team being introduced, they thought Io was getting fast tracked up there to be with Kairi, but that's how we got the Kabuki Warriors, and now Kairi with Asuka, they're having some success right now. And we even got more of that during the actual women's match, the women's elimination match. On the main pay-per-view, we got even more of Kairi and Io, so that was just a treat. And even Carmella, who was in there, she knew what was going down, and she was just like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe I should, but maybe I shouldn't. So yeah, and Becky faced Rhea before all hell broke loose. And also, take Toni Storm off of the milk carton, guys, because apparently she is back without explanation. We haven't seen her at all since she lost the NXT UK Women's Championship to Kaylee Ray during TakeOver Cardiff on the Saturday of Dragon Con weekend, or as the normies would say, Labor Day weekend. And then when sort of first draft version of Team Ripley showed up on SmackDown last Friday, Toni was there right along with her, and Tegan and Candice, and yeah, no explanation. We did hear about, Toni being moved over to regular NXT, and that's what we were expecting to see when NXT was on Fox, but we got Rhea instead, which is just fine because Rhea's terrific and she's being pushed to the moon now. But now we got Toni back. So that's great. And then, of course, this is an instant of when people put brand warfare over their own personal rivalries, because when Team Rhea was leaving SmackDown, they're on the ramp after they beat the SmackDown tag team that they were going up against. Like, Rhea just had her arm over Tony's shoulder like they had been pals. Just like, no, literally at the beginning of the year, you guys were hurting each other, and Tony actually hurt her back on the freaking apron because you two were fighting over the NXT UK Women's Championship. But I guess, now you're buds now, because I guess Rhea's a face now. Sure. Because we need her to win that belt from Shayna, because Vince is probably going to be pushing hard to get Shayna on his brands. And also, we got something that was actually an incredible match that we didn't expect at all, because Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish had a match with the Revival, and it was incredible. And of course, Fish and O'Reilly won. Speaking of undisputed shenanigans, back on Raw, because I'm going to keep jumping around with this to make it unpredictable and fairly interesting. Kevin Owens got jumped by the Undisputed Era after Triple H went out to convince him to join NXT like he did with Seth a couple weeks ago. But I think Trips was actually being a little bit more earnest with Kevin Owens than he was with Seth. Because when Undisputed Era was jumping on him, Triple H pulled aside Adam Cole and was having some words with him like, dude, what the fuck are you doing? I'm legit trying to get Kevin Owens to our brand, and you just jumped him. He's like, I'm sorry, I thought this was a trap. Oh, it was really awesome was the nostalgia entrances during SmackDown when Raw and NXT were invading, because after there was the whole infighting between Team SmackDown, starting off with Roman literally opening the door for Raw and SmackDown to come in and invade, because that's actually not just a metaphor anymore. Yeah, you heard Seth's theme drop and you were looking around for him, and Seth led the Raw men's locker room down the steps of the arena, just like the Shield used to, because that was their route. They would always go down the steps through the crowd into the arena. So Seth did that entrance with the whole Raw men's room, and locker room, not bathroom. And then NXT invaded like it was 1998, literally, because they were walking with a Hummer that had fucking Triple H, Shawn Michaels, and Road Dogg going in like they were about to pounce on WCW. And yeah, we're on to War Games and Survivor Series. And it all started off with Team Ripley and Team Baszler going in, and of course Rhea and Candice were the first two in, with Io Shirai and Bianca Belair and Kaylee Ray. And then it was Dakota Kai's turn, and she was about to walk up, and you were like, oh wait, what? Dakota Kai's on the team? Yeah, because apparently as the kickoff was starting, apparently Mia Yim was attacked and injured by somebody. Who knows who it is? So Rhea Ripley conscripted Dakota Kai to replace her. So when it was Dakota's turn to come out, she walked, and then she turned around, she went back in, and she beat up Tegan Knox, her best friend, who was on the cage, and she even removed Tegan's knee brace and started slamming her surgically repaired knees against the bars of the cage. And then security escorted her off, and she put hands on GM William Regal, which the crowd was just like, oh my god. And so yeah, Dakota Kai's heel now, which I guess was the logical next step because of all the pins she kept eating and how Ripley and Baszler kept treating her like shit. And so yeah, it was Candice and Rhea versus the entirety of Team Baszler, which, by the way, while Dakota was going nuts, Shayna was the only one left in her cage, and she was just laughing her ass off. And yeah, Ripley actually cuffed Shayna to her and did a ripcord on her through chairs and got the 1-2-3. So Rhea Ripley and Candice LeRae, the winners over the entirety of Team Baszler. And wow, that was an incredible way to start the era of women's War Games match. Good luck trying to top that next year, but they probably could. Also, Pete Dunne won the triple threat between him and Damian Priest and Killian Dane. So Pete Dunne faced Adam Cole for the NXT Championship the next night at Survivor Series and lost, but it was a pretty damn good match. And this is an allusion to later, but we're surprised Adam Cole wasn't dead to begin with. Finn Balor defeated Matt Riddle in his first official match as back in NXT. So the Prince is officially here, and Team Ciampa won, and they revealed their fourth member to be Kevin Owens, who, of course, was looking for some payback against the Undisputed Era. I was secretly kind of hoping it was Johnny Gargano, even he wasn't medically cleared, quote unquote, to compete, but you never know with professional wrestling. But no, when I saw Kevin Owens, I was just like, that makes all the sense in the world. He got jumped by Undisputed Era. That man wants revenge. And it was a wonderful fight. Don't see how Undisputed Era is actually still alive. And especially Adam Cole, because the end of the match saw Ciampa and Cole at the very top of the War Games cage, and they both fell through a table, and Ciampa got the 1-2-3 in similar fashion to how Adam Cole defeated Johnny Gargano to become NXT champion. So that was War Games. And the next one, the NXT women won the 5-on-5-on-5 elimination match. Charlotte got green misted by her own teammate Asuka, and Candice LeRae and Io Shirai faked their injuries because Io Shirai and Bianca Belair replaced Dakota Kai and Tegan Nox for obvious reasons. And Candice and Io, who were supposed to be enemies, faked their injuries together, and then they got taken back to the locker room. And then the women were eliminating each other. Of course, we got more Kairi and Io before that. And then it was down to Sasha and Natalya about to gang up on Rhea Ripley. And then Sasha did the most devastating move in professional wrestling, as according to Simon Miller. The surprise roll-up, 1-2-3, is just Sasha and Rhea, which was incredible, and I'd like to see that as a full singles match. And then, as Sasha had her in the bank statement, completely locked up, you thought it was all over, and then Candice and Io magically healed up because they're a couple of Wolverines, and they pulled Rhea out there, and one of them, and Io smacked Sasha while the other distracted the ref. I don't know why, because it's a triple threat, so it's no disqualification, so it didn't matter anyway. And then Rhea got the 1-2-3, and Team NXT wins. Roderick Strong defeated AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura the same way he beat Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic, who are also two guys that he has no business being in the ring with. AJ hit Shinsuke with a phenomenal forearm. Roderick threw AJ out of the ring and got the 1-2-3 on Nakamura. And that's another win for NXT. However, the last show in the kickoff was Raw's only win of the night. The Viking Raiders defeated the Undisputed Era Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, and Kofi and Big E of the New Day, which, god damn it, Kofi was WWE champion at the beginning of last month, and now he's on the fucking kickoff show, of course. And then there was Brock versus Rey Mysterio for the WWE Championship. And on Raw, that Monday. They said it was no holds barred and no disqualification. I don't know what the difference is, so don't ask me. And I asked all my other wrestling fans, and honestly, they didn't really know. This is just WWE letting you know there's some stipulations and some stakes involved. And Rey Mysterio brought out a steel pipe, and then Dominic tried to throw in the towel like MJF did to Cody back at Full Gear. That might have been WWE's little jab at them because Tony Khan probably deserves it. And Brock was like, there's no throwing in the towel here. And then he was started victimizing Dominic Mysterio. And then Ray recovered, and holy shit, this was, if this was Rey Mysterio's retirement match, this would have been a hell of a moment to do it because father and son finally teamed up. Ray hit Brock in the balls, and then Dominic hit Brock in the balls, and Brock was leaning against the middle rope. So Ray and Dominic hit him with the double 619, and then Dominic hit him with the frog splash, then Ray hit him with the frog splash. Then both Ray and Dominic were on Brock, and sure enough, you thought this was it, and then it wasn't it. Brock kicked out. He victimized Dominic some more, hit Ray with an F5, got the 1, 2, 3, and of course, Brock Lesnar is still your WWE champion. Also, The Fiend versus Daniel Bryan for the Universal Championship. The Fiend started off a little slow, but Daniel Bryan. The Yes Movement is back because Daniel Bryan and The Miz were facing each other on Friday Night SmackDown earlier, and then Daniel Bryan was just sort of like, oh my god, this crowd has overpowered me, can't do it. He started to bring back the Yes to get ready to hit The Miz with a running knee, and then the lights went out. The Miz literally turned into the Fiend, and then the Fiend got him. So flash forward back to the Universal Championship. Daniel Bryan officially brought back the Yes Movement as he was hitting the Fiend with Yes kicks, trying to bring the power. But it turns out, I guess, the Fiend was just siphoning the power of the Yes Movement into himself, because the Fiend kicked out of running knee after running knee and yes kick after yes kick. And then he took his fingers, he stuck it in Daniel Bryan's mouth. Oh, the Fiend also, he somehow managed to get out of an over-the-rope armbar. But he stuck his fingers in Daniel Bryan's mouth, and then he put his hands on Daniel Bryan's shoulder with his fingers still in Bryan's mouth. Got the 1, 2, 3. The Fiend is still Universal Champion, as well it should be, so he can lose it to Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. Speaking of Roman Reigns, we're on to the 5-on-5-on-5 for the men's. Basically, what you should know is there are some RKOs out of nowhere. Ricochet's costume was basically Batman Beyond. I shit you not, go look that up and tell me I'm wrong. And, we all have we've all seen, during the whole Survivor Series season of enemies pretending they're best friends so they can, because they're on the same brand now, because that's all of a sudden important. That was literally not the case with Roman and King Corbin. In fact, later on in the match, Roman actually just flat out speared Corbin and let Tommaso Ciampa do the 1, 2, 3 on him. That's how much it just got there. And your final three was Roman and Seth and Keith Lee. And boy, if they don't push Keith Lee to the moon after this, there's gonna be a riot. Because he held his own amazingly against Roman and Seth, and in fact, he even almost got Shield powerbombed by Roman and Seth, But of course it didn't work because that's silly, because you need a third person to actually do the shield power bomb. Otherwise, you're just two dudes doing a power bomb. And Keith pinned Seth, and then it came down to Roman and Keith. Keith hit him with a spirit bomb, which Roman kicked out of that because he's Roman Reigns. And then Roman hit him with the spear, got the 1, 2, 3. They had a wonderful sign of respect. He has the Roman seal of approval, Keith Lee does. And I feel like one of those two are going to win the Rumble. And your main event was Shayna Baszler defeating Bayley while Becky was laid out. And people thought this was going to be Ronda Rousey making her return. That did not happen, but when Shayna was victorious and standing on the commentator table, Becky beat the holy living tar out of her. So there was no Ronda Rousey, but that doesn't mean there won't be in the future, because as we know, with Charlotte going mad and Becky fucking becoming the man during the Survivor Series invasion last year, clearly what happens on this night, no matter what, can have implications going into WrestleMania season and happily concluding on that wonderful Sunday night in April when wrestling happens in a football stadium. So I hope you kind of like this. I'm working on this new format a little bit better. Hope you were very entertained. I was, instead of telling you that somebody was getting buried for like the 8,000th time in a row. So with all that said, this has been WTLK the Thunder. I can't believe with all that I actually hit 26 minutes, but this is a major pay-per-view. So with that said, drink, fight, make your ancestors proud.